The Witcher universe is the most prevalent example I can think of as fantasy noir. You know what fantasy is, but noir simply means having a main theme be moral ambiguity. To me, its level of uniqueness as a universe, regardless of interpretation by medium, video games, Netflix show, the original books, is equal to that of the game Elder Scrolls III Morrowind, which I have previously described as the main proof that Lovecraftian elements, as they are meant to be perceived, can be blended well with fantasy elements. I mention the game Skyrim because I can no longer play the game without modding it to be a make your own Witcher adventure rather than a game based around its core elements. Much like the key point of originality and uniqueness to me in the Elder Scrolls universe is the Dunmerry or Dark Elf culture of the alien ash desert filled land of volcanic Morrowind, the key point of interest for me in the Witcher universe is the Witchers themselves. The noir hero is famously described as a white knight in blood-caked armor. This means a realistic, grounded world interacting with a protagonist who can either die a hero, adapt by becoming a balanced, normal human being, or gain power in this gray world by becoming a villain, steeped in the moral blackness of it. Before we get into how this is represented by the Witchers themselves, let's talk about the setting. Nothing too heavy in terms of lore, but just the feel of the world. The races you're familiar with from Tolkien are present here elves, halflings, dwarves, and nature spirits of varying degrees, but these fantastical species are often barbaric, savage versions of themselves, highly endangered victims of genocide or both. Themes of poverty, war, crimes of sexual passion, and human cruelty through axiomatic prejudice are found throughout almost every Witcher story or quest. Centered in all of this are our acting detectives, monster hunters, and would-be knights, the Witchers. Touching on the fate of the noir hero, a Witcher will either die fighting a monster, adapt to become a master of his craft, allowing him to become a balanced person, or abandon the life for enterprises usually in the criminal world, given their lack of acceptance in wider society unless needed due to their status as mutants, which is another thing we'll get into. The Witchers were originally founded under the idea of creating knights, but ultimately, the mutagens and various things they have to undergo at a very young age to become these heroic monster slayers shows us another theme of moral ambiguity, which I didn't put in the original script, but needs to be talked about. The childhood torture that goes into becoming a Witcher is part of that gritty realism, that blood and dirt caked into the White Knight's armor. Within the games, which I will be speaking of primarily, we are given an example of many dead Witchers. The older Witcher, Vesemir, is a clear example of a master at the craft being able to live to old age, and while only making a slight appearance in one quest, the ex-Witcher turned gangster, merchant, and adoptive father, Jad Caradon, shows us one possible fate of a Witcher, or rather, that a Witcher might find when leaving the life. However, the majority of the stories you will consume in this universe revolve around the figure Geralt of Rivia, a Witcher who is often uncharacteristically empathetic, somewhat good-looking, and heroic for a Witcher. Due to the heavy cultural inspirations for the stories, I often refer to him as Captain Poland, seeing a lot of Steve Rogers' Captain America elements in the character when one puts aside Geralt's stoic demeanor. Much like Captain America and many noir heroes, he is a veteran of seemingly a good number of conflicts, gaining the title the Butcher of Blaviken after one altercation with a sorceress and her gang. The various sorceresses in Geralt's life also act as the femme fatale to his noir hero, often being dangerous women tempting him to otherwise dubious actions before becoming proper love interests, even then with the very realistic high possibility of betrayal both in terms of violence and sex, which you may experience through Easter eggs or quests throughout the game. Nothing is hidden or romanticized in the world of The Witcher when it comes to human nature. It's all left out on display. Issues are complex, and would-be heroes often do more damage when they succeed in their self-professed missions than they would have if they did nothing at all. A half-elf being attacked by children throwing rocks at her may become angry with you for scaring them off, as they will most likely be back tomorrow with their parents, weapons, and many false accusations, of which there will be no trial to disprove, you can be rest assured of that. If by some measure of miracle a Witcher were able to fight off an entire village, it would only lead to an eventual military conflict that not even Geralt's plot armor can protect him from. The best a Witcher can do for himself, and others, is to slay monsters, stick to business, and stay on the path. To quote the trailer for The Witcher 3, "This world doesn't need a hero. It needs a professional." Please join me as we continue to delve into this universe and learn more about its history in this Witcher lore series, focusing primarily on, you guessed it, the Witchers.